You can only imagine what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu felt and what he's feeling. You could see the exhaustion, but the fight in him to continue to protect and to fight back. And believe me, it's over for Hamas. The Israeli government is going to hunt down every single leader of Hamas. They will not be able to sleep one wink for the rest of their lives. Kibbutz Be'eri. It was established on October 6th, 1946. It is probably considered one of the wealthier kibbutzes in Israel. 77 years. 77 years. So on October 6th, 2023, everybody at the kibbutz was celebrating. They were drinking, they were having fun, they were celebrating 77 years of living there on the border, friends with their Palestinian neighbors in Israel, you know, those that were in Gaza that would come over and work. They would share meals together, open up their homes. You know, they had a close relationship with their Palestinian neighbors. Why? Because they really believed that by opening up their hearts, that they could build bridges between what was dividing them, right? The Jews, the Muslims, the Palestinians, the Israelis. They believed that being peaceful with their neighbors, that they would have that same reciprocity back. I walked through that kibbutz just several days ago, and it was the toughest thing that I have done in a long time. When that kibbutz first started, it had something like 150 people, right? No one ever imagined after the establishment of Israel in May 1948, you know, that the Israeli government, or that the Israeli people for that matter, the Jewish people, that their homeland would last this long. In a way, it's kind of a miracle in and of itself. It actually is a miracle. I mean, there were people literally betting that Israel would not exist for more than a year because it was surrounded by enemies, because of that long-term hate that existed. And the Jewish people were lost. I mean, remember, 1940s, you had Auschwitz, Nazis, World War II, Dachau. And the Jewish people had been suffering already for centuries. The pogroms, better way to say it, all across Europe. And the rise of anti-Semitism has existed since the very first tribes of Judea, since the very first tribes of the Israeli tribes. But I walked through Kibbutz Be'eri and I was astonished at what happened, because I never felt or would imagine feeling the presence of such evil. And at the same time, such kindness and goodness and light in all of the darkness. I saw the homes, and I tell you, you know, this was my first experience. As we walked into the kibbutz with our guide, and he was just absolutely incredible. He was actually there when Hamas militants attacked the kibbutz. And I want you to think about this. I want you to think about being at a party the night before, hanging out with your friends, celebrating something spectacular, you know, being with your family, not even thinking for 1 second, not for 1 second, that the next morning, your entire life, and in many cases, lives, would be taken from you. Everything would be turned upside down. I want you to imagine just in an instant, your life changing completely. That is what happened on October 7th at that kibbutz. And not too far down the road at the Nova Festival, 400 young people, plus all of those that were taken, slaughtered, raped, beaten by Hamas terrorists. I want you to think about watching and listening to armed gunmen enter your neighborhood, screaming to come out of your homes with weapons pointed at your houses, and you are running with your children into safe rooms that they knew exactly where they were located. Why? Because the people that you trusted, the people that you loved, the people that came into your homes, the people that you tried to build a relationship with, had given Hamas all of the information that was necessary to launch this unbelievable, spectacular attack on your home, on civilians, not on IDF soldiers, but on innocent families. I walked into some of the homes we weren't even allowed to film. But before walking into some of the homes, I was watching as a group of Israeli soldiers that were charged with finding body parts were sifting through the dirt, looking for pieces of the people that had been slaughtered at the kibbutz. Some who were burned, some who were shot so many times that they were not recognizable anymore. And in fact, when we entered the kibbutz, the young man who gave us the tour, who was just so amazing and so brave, said to me as he turned around, he said, if you had come here several days ago, you would have still smelt the carnage of the bodies. There still may be some here because we had to continually keep cleaning up with crews just to make sure that we could not only find all of the body parts, and we're still looking for them, but for the decency of the people, to get them removed, to remove the pieces of the bodies. I want you to think about this. Imagine 130 people in your neighborhood just being slaughtered. Just being slaughtered. And I think I'm having some kind of PTSD from it because I've been in war zones quite a bit. And the thought of children grabbing their mother's, clothing, hiding behind them while these monsters walked through and chased them into these rooms and started fires to try to smoke them out. And I also heard, it was just gut-wrenching, a 13-year-old girl with her father locked in a safe room while her mother and brother were outside being slaughtered by Hamas, calling for help, and saying, they are coming to get me. They are coming to get us. They are coming to get us. And by the way, she saved her father's life. She saved her father's life. She put cloth and did everything she could underneath the door. She tried and pushed as much as she could in front of the door of the safe room to stop them from getting in. And in this kibbutz, Hamas knew exactly where to go. And there were mistakes, in my opinion. They had an armory, but all the armory was kept in one location so that the people, even the civil defense forces, couldn't get to the armory in time. This is why the Second Amendment is so important in the United States. You need to be able to defend your family. You need to be able to defend your family because sometimes, and many times, The government can make mistakes. They may not even know. They may not have the right that's human intelligence, to know what is going to happen next. And I want you to think about this. I want you to think about your life in America right now. Our border is wide open. We have had people pour through that border. We don't even know who they are or where they are from. Look how comfortable the Israeli government felt. Even their intelligence apparatus, even our intelligence apparatus, they relied, and the Israeli government has a phenomenal, believe me, phenomenal resources when it comes to border security. They have the Iron Dome. They have cameras. They have technology that I am not even allowed to know about because it is that classified to try to stop enemies from entering the country. Yet they did. Hamas thought outside the box. They had been planning and preparing an attack for more than 2 years with Iran. And Iran is not just the enemy of Israel. Iran is an enemy of the United States of America, of the Western world, of our world. You think you're going to escape that? You're not. You think that by acquiescing to the demands of Hamas or Hezbollah, that somehow nothing bad is going to happen to you? Do you think by being friends or trying to make friends with these extremist organizations, and I'm not talking about the people, they're good Palestinian people. There are good Palestinian people because I met them. I met a Palestinian businessman who, to me, said in my face, if you think the United States is going to succeed by negotiating even with the Palestinian Authority, they are fools. Fools. They are fools. Because the Palestinian Authority is aiding and abetting Hamas. Because the Palestinian Authority is aiding and abetting our enemy, Iran. And Iran calls Israel, it's the little Satan, right? The little Satan. Oh, we got little Satan. Who do you think big Satan is? It's us. First, they go after the Saturday people. That's the Jews and the Sabbath. And then they come after the Sunday people. We're not going to escape this, guys. We're not going to be able to just turn our heads away. This is far greater than what we're seeing in Ukraine and Russia. This is far more dangerous than anything we've ever seen before. This is the Holy Land. This is where everything is going to go down. It is vitally important that the United States pay attention to what is happening there. And I'm going to go into detail as to why, but I want you to understand this. Remember September 11th. For those of you who can remember it, remember that feeling of being kicked in the stomach as we watched planes fly in to the World Trade Center, as we all wondered what was going to happen next. And my God, then it was the Pentagon. And then we thought, well, what could happen next? And then there was that crash in Pennsylvania that could have easily gone into the State Department or the White House. And then what would happen next? We had to, shut down all flights across the United States. Our lives turned upside down. Our military was called into action. My husband was called into action. He was in Afghanistan shortly after those attacks. And then we spent 20 years, America's longest war. America's longest war. And we're still fighting. Yes, we are. You might not be seeing it, but behind the scenes, our U.S. intelligence apparatus and our soldiers and our troops are still out there overseas fighting an enemy that hates the Western world. Our only ally, real, true ally in the Middle East is Israel. It is a state that believes in equal opportunity for everyone. It really does. There are Muslims who sit in high positions of power in Israel. I met with people, Christian leaders, Arab Christian leaders, as well as Muslim business leaders while I was on my trip. I also met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You know him as Bibi. We spoke with him for over an hour. I met with Ambassador Ron Dermer. I met with high-level officials and intelligence officials and others. And I saw with my own eyes from the border of Gaza to Lebanon what was happening there and what was the potential for it to happen here. I'm going to be back in just a second, but I want to tell you about Goldco, and I want to thank Goldco for being a part of the Sarah Carter Show, because without our advertisers, great advertisers that I believe in, we would not have this show. That's how important this is. And by the way, the Biden administration, it wants you taxed to the brink, under the thumb of the IRS, controlled by a digital dollar. That's why thousands of hardworking, patriotic Americans, including myself, are turning to Goldco. Listen to their current offer. Right now, you can get a free 2024 Gold Kit and learn how to possibly get $10,000 in bonus silver as a listener of this show. And one of Goldco's most unique qualities is its education first stance and thoroughness of the information it provides. It offers a one-of-a-kind gold IRA kit for individual buyers to explain the economy and gold and how gold IRAs work. Their goal is to make it easy for you to get the benefit of owning physical gold and silver. Protect your family's financial future and freedom. Get started today at SaraLikesGold.com. That's SARA likesgold.com. Get your free gold kit from Goldco and learn how to get $10,000 in bonus silver. SaraLikesGold.com. That's SaraLikesGold.com. So I'm going to start out with, my meeting with, and it was our group's meeting, which I was so grateful. I had Ellie Kohanim. She was there. Remember, she was the Deputy Secretary of State fighting anti-Semitism under President Donald Trump. We had an amazing time in Israel. Pastor Mario Bramnick. We also had Tony Perkins, Chris Mitchell from CBN, so many others. Donna, who was amazing, and she organized the entire trip. Thank you so much, Donna, because without you, we would not have been able to do this. I had Danielle, and she was working with Jewish Agency. Jewish Agency is amazing. They work on bringing Jews back to Israel, back to the homeland. This allows young and old alike, Jewish people to find a safe haven back in Israel. And, it was so tough to see what they were going through, because after what happened, this was the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. I mean, this was truly evil beyond evil. And some people would even say it was worse in some ways because it was in the Holy Land, because this attack happened in a place where they were supposed to be safe, where they were supposed to feel safe. How do you recover from that? You can only imagine what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu felt and what he's feeling. You could see the exhaustion, but the fight in him to continue to protect and to fight back. And believe me, it's over for Hamas. The Israeli government is going to hunt down every single leader of Hamas. They will not be able to sleep one wink for the rest of their lives because they know that their actions on October 7th made them the most wanted people of the Israeli government. And there are other people that will be assisting and other agencies and foreign assistance in trying to target these monsters that did this. But I want you to understand this. And this is what I learned while I was over there. And I'm telling you, it is a fact. They are coming after us. I was there to support my ally, our great ally in this fight, our brothers and sisters in the fight against this evil, against this extremism. But they are coming after us. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, what happens if there is a massive attack in the United States? We wake up one morning or our children are at school and something happens because our border has been wide open, because we have allowed terrorists into our nation. That is a fact. And we don't even know who they are. Sure, we've intercepted some of them, but we haven't intercepted all of them. What is going to happen if our allies turn their backs against us, undermine us, tell us how we should handle our response to a terror attack in the United States? Would you put up with that? Would you allow France or Germany to tell us, to dictate to us how we are going to handle a response to terrorist organizations targeting our people and our children? And I want you to think about what they did. Hamas did not go and attack, the IDF forces, the, Israeli Defense Forces. They didn't have a fair fight. They're cowards. They're evil. They struck terror in civilians and babies. They massacred children. They took children, toddlers, infants. They claimed the lives of 10% of that farming community. Dozens of homes were burnt down, blown up. I walked into one house and the fire was so intense, it was like a movie, that the clock on the wall stopped at 8:10 a.m. At 8:10 a.m. And the bodies burned, beaten and burned. They would go inside the homes and they'd grab, kids, and they'd say, "You got to come with me," and knock on doors. And they'd make the children knock on the doors so that they would lure people out. And of course, the children are crying, teenagers crying, "Please come out or they're going to kill me and my family. Please come out of the house. Please, please come out of the house and help me." And because these people are good people, because they actually care, they came out. And of course, then they were captured. There are still 134 hostages, guys, in Gaza being held by Hamas. 134. And have we forgotten? Have we forgotten what that is? What that means? I was sitting directly in front of Prime Minister Netanyahu, and to my right was Tony Perkins, one of, I think, the great evangelical leaders and Christian leaders in our country. And at the end of our over an hour discussion with him, which I mean, I agree. Rafah is important, and they will, under no circumstances are they going to back away from this. The Israeli government is going to go into Rafah. There are still 4 battalions of Hamas there, and they are going to obliterate Hamas. They are going to obliterate those last 4 battalions. And they are trying to give enough time, and I'm going to go into that in a minute, to get the civilians out of there. No nation on earth has ever done what the Israeli government has done. And there's a West Point analyst that has written a story in Newsweek, a column about this, has ever gone as far to protect civilians as the Israelis have. I'm going to tell you that right now. What you are seeing in the news is really lies. There has never been a nation that has gone so far to protect civilians in a time of war. They had to respond. They had to respond. And I was sitting there, we were all discussing. I had a very interesting conversation. Netanyahu wanted to understand where the Hispanic community in the United States, where the Hispanic community lied as far as like, on which side was it taking? Was it moving further away from Israel and what the Israeli government needed to do to respond to the attacks? Was it siding more with Hamas? What was happening with the young Hispanic, people in the United States? How were they reacting to this? And I talked to him about the failure of our university systems and how we're being brainwashed by these radical progressives that have distanced themselves not only from our allies, but even from God, from our religious base in this country, and how they have taken these over-exaggerated lies and this disinformation campaign established by Iran and spread it throughout the world. And if they themselves have lied to our own people about what the reality is in Israel. And for people who have never been there, for people who don't understand, for people who think that there's some kind of apartheid in Israel, oh my gosh, you are so mistaken. I wish, if that's you, I wish I could take you there. If it's not you, thank you. But you have to speak up. You have to be willing to take a side here. And if you believe in what is righteous and true, if you believe in principles that make our nations great, like freedom, like equal rights, do you think groups like Hamas and the PLO believe in that? Do you think that they believe in freedom? Do you think that they would be okay with even with gay rights? I mean, that's what blows my mind when I see these progressive young people, out there on the streets protesting Israel and siding with Hamas. Hamas would end them. Hamas would kill them. Just like Iran, they would hang them from cranes in the street as a lesson to the rest of the people that are there. Do not mess with us and our religious edict. We will kill you. You will have nothing. You will have no freedom. Look at the young girls in Iran that are standing up to the government, pulling off their hijabs and dancing in the streets. That's about freedom. That is what the United States should be. We should be the beacon of hope and of light for the rest of the world. We should be standing by our allies. Granted, we could have disputes with our allies. We can have disputes with them. But when it comes to what we saw on October 7th, there should be no doubt in our minds that we are next. Hey folks, My Pillow, it's that time of the year again, and we've got Giza Dream Sheets for sale right now. Queen size sheets for sale for $59.98. Can't beat that. King size sets for only $69.98. Remember, use promo code Carter, CARTER, at checkout to get access to these great deals. I want to tell you, the Giza Dream Sheets, they're literally made with the world's best cotton. It's called Giza. And I have them on my bed. I have them on my kids' bed. I give them as gifts to family members who don't live with me. And I give them as gifts to my friends. These are amazing, amazing sheets. They're soft to the touch. They last forever and they stay crisp and clean. I got to tell you, I mean, they don't look old at all. I've had these sheets for years and they look amazing every time I put them on my bed, right? So please get your Giza Dream Sheets now. And Macy's on her dog bed. Don't forget to order a dog bed too. They're so great. Go to mypillow.com/Carter or call 1-800-685-7221 today to get the Giza Dream Sheets queen size for $59.98 or king for $69.98. That's 1-800-685-7221 or go to mypillow.com/Carter. Promo code Carter. Again, mypillow.com/Carter, promo code Carter. I want to take a moment right now. And right now, I want you to understand Hezbollah is targeting the north with anti-tank missiles. These are incredibly accurate missiles. And Hezbollah has over 100,000, I would say over 200,000, according to some sources, of missiles that are able to target Israel, which means they can overwhelm the Iron Dome system. And they're targeting the homes that have been abandoned. They are actually obliterating them. I was up in the north. I want to play this quick video for you so you can hear. I'm discussing this with an IDF intelligence, former IDF intelligence officer who was giving us a tour of an area right on the border of Lebanon, one of the bigger cities. And I want you to hear what he has to say.
War room.
So we're going to go down to the bomb shelter right now. And how far are we, Marco, from the border?
From the Lebanese border.
Lebanese border, yeah.
Pretty close. We are in the range of the anti-tanks missiles.
So we're in the range. So if right now Hezbollah decided to launch.
Just shot a missile over there like a couple of days ago.
Right.
Now the anti-tanks missiles, what's problematic, you don't have an alarm.
Right.
You don't know it's happening. You know it's happening when it's hit you.
So you only know.
It's like because they shoot it.
And they're much more precise than they.
Very precise.
Yeah.
Very precise.
Now I heard that they have the anti-tank missiles. They have like they have a lot of them. It's not that they have small amounts like Hamas. They literally have
10 times more.
10 times more, in the hundreds of thousands is what I was hearing.
Exactly. Exactly.
And there were about 80,000 people evacuated from Karachma, right?
No, 80,000 people from all the north.
From all the north.
20,000.
Okay. So Karachma, that on the border, that city, saw over 20,000. I think there was 24,000 people that were evacuated from there. There were others that chose to stay. I wasn't able to get an exact number on how many actually chose to stay, but every single day there are sirens going off. And usually those sirens come after the bombs have made their way through. So I want you to think about living your life like that, constantly being bombarded. Now I want you to think about this push for a two-state solution, right? Two-state solution, and how they are undermining the Israeli government. Do you truly believe with an enemy that wants to obliterate you off the face of the earth that a two-state solution is actually possible? I mean, I want you to think about that. A two-state solution? It's not possible at all. And then we have Obama going to England, meeting with the prime minister and other world leaders to try to push for a two-state solution that he knows will lead to a war. And right now, the Israeli government, and it is, I absolutely agree, opposes a unilateral imposition of a Palestinian state. I mean, why reward terrorists for attacking your people? And right now is not the time to talk about any kind of two-state solution. Now, could something way in the future happen that could change everything? Maybe. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't read a crystal ball. But while I was sitting with the prime minister, while I was talking to the other officials that were in that room, like Ron Dermer, there is no way on earth that they are going to agree to a two-state solution now. And Rafah, my gosh, Rafah, it's over. They're going in. There is no other option. It would be so wonderful to have a world with no war. It would be amazing to live in a world where we could just say, hey, let's get along, let bygones be bygones, let's find a way to make peace, and everything would work out that way. But that's not what is happening here. And that will not happen, no matter how much you wish for it. Right now, there are so many people criticizing Israel. And they're taking numbers from Hamas. Here's an NPR story. They take these numbers. Gaza's death toll now exceeds 30,000. Here's why it's an incomplete count. That's the story on NPR. I want to tell you this. War sucks, right? We all know that. My father fought in a war. My husband fought in a war. He lost his eyesight. My friends have died in war. I have covered war. Like I told you at the beginning of the podcast, there was this overwhelming feeling like the sense that you're in a place that you could end up losing your life. I mean, we could have been on the border of Lebanon. One of those anti-tank missiles could have hit where we were at. You don't know. You just don't know. You have that feeling of PTSD. The Israeli government has worked to try to comply with a push, especially from the United States and from others, a push to basically mitigate civilian casualties and death. But let me tell you something about how Hamas works. Hamas and the Palestinian Authority and Hezbollah, they use people as human shields. They put people in areas where they know they are going to be targeted. They put weapons depots in schools, and the UN knows this, and the UN allows this. They do the same thing in the hospitals. And they ensure that if Israel retaliates, that they can utilize those retaliations, especially on those specific areas, right? The schools, the religious centers, the hospitals, that they could say, oh, look how evil Israel is, because it targeted our schools, it targeted our hospitals. What is Israel supposed to do? How is Israel supposed to retaliate? How is Israel supposed to fight a war when the people who are supposed to be on Israel's side are asking them, hey, you know what? Take it easy. It's not about numbers, guys. It's not about numbers like, okay, so they killed 2,000, so we should kill 2,000. That isn't how war works. Do you really think that right now our enemies are gauging that and saying, you know what? So the United States killed this many, so we should only kill this many. Israel killed this many, so we should go ahead and take that many. There is an existential war against the future of Western civilization. I don't know if that's actually penetrating the American psyche right now. And this push to placate the Dearborn, Michigan, Hamas marches and and I guess the squad. Does it make me sad? Does it break my heart when I see children dying? Of course it does. We wouldn't be human. But Israel has allowed people to leave those areas. So why is Hamas keeping them there? Why? They say they're going to come in. They say they're going to evacuate. And while every death of a non-combatant is tragic, and so many have criticized Israel for the number and trying to accuse Israel of genocide when it's been the Jewish people that have faced genocide over and over and over again. And now they want to remove them from their land. Don't believe the two-state solution. There could be nothing further from the truth. Nothing further from the truth. And what if Israel decides, you know what, we're not going to go after Hezbollah. We're going to go after Hamas. We're going to take out the 4 battalions, but we won't go after Hezbollah. Believe me, you know what's going to happen? The Hezbollah tentacles are going to grow. Hamas is going to come back. It's going to happen again and again and again. Sure, people are devastated. Nobody wants children to die. Nobody wants to see what happened on either side. But who initiated the first attack? Do you not think that Hamas knew what was going to happen when they initiated that first attack on Israel? When I walked through that kibbutz, when I stood at the Nova Festival and saw the faces of those young, beautiful people and even older people who had no idea that while they were celebrating, and these are the peaceniks, that while they were celebrating, that they would be the target of the most vile hate on the planet, to the point where they're dragging around people full covered in blood. That poor young girl that was in all those videos, you could see the blood on the back of her pants. She had been raped. She was being dragged. Her mother doesn't even want to see that video. Tears rolling out of her eyes. The horror that she must have faced. The phone calls that children made to their parents before they were killed. And I want you to think about it, not in numbers, but in what it was like. What's it like to see someone's face blown off? What's it like to be running for your life and trying to find a bush to hide in? What's it like to be dragged out from, I don't even know, from a building by your hair and dragged to the floor and beaten and stomped on and spit on? Hamas leadership knew when they launched this attack that the Israeli government and others would be hunting them down. Hamas leadership knew when they did that they would be putting their own people's lives at risk. And instead of living in peace, they did what they did. I want to read you something that I think is important. I talked about at the beginning of this podcast, and it's from West Point. It's John Spencer. He is the chair of urban warfare studies at the Modern War Institute at West Point. And Israel is pushing back on the criticisms and the narrative that Iran has been pushing across the globe, that Israel is committing genocide, which is a lie, because Israel is not committing genocide. I saw that with my own eyes. And I talked to officials about this. John Spencer said, and he argued, that Israel has taken more measures to avoid needless civilian harm than virtually any other nation that's fought an urban war. That is huge. And this is somebody who studies urban warfare. He said Israel provides days and then weeks, and they're doing it right now. They're not in Rafah. They probably won't even be in Rafah until June or May or June. They are giving people enough time. And then weeks of warnings, as well as time for civilians to evacuate multiple cities in northern Gaza before starting the main air-ground attack of urban areas. The Israel Defense Forces employed their practice of calling and texting ahead of an airstrike, as well as roof knocking, where they drop small munitions on the roof of a building, notifying everyone to evacuate the building before a strike. No military on earth has ever implemented any of these practices in war before. And there's a reason why they don't. Because you can give the enemy what they need to escape as well. But they're doing this to protect the people of Gaza, who, by the way, according to polls, a poll done by an Arab news agency suggesting that the majority of people in Gaza supported Hamas. Supported Hamas. Think about that. Think about what's going on there. We're living in such dangerous times. You know, as I walked through Israel, this beautiful land, spent time in Jerusalem, I traveled a lot, I'm pretty tired, but it was worth every single movement. I mean, meeting people, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a future episode, but I was with the families of the hostages, and I can't even begin to tell you how painful it was. They just don't have any answers. They don't know if their family members are alive or dead. They don't know how to react. They don't know what to do. They don't know what tomorrow will bring. And neither will we. And neither do we. We have to wake up. We have to speak up. We have to realize that our nation and Israel face a common enemy, one that is intent on destroying our way of life, on taking away from us our safety and our security. And there could be nothing worse that could happen to your children and to your family than taking away their safety and security, to the point where, I don't know if you remember this, but one of the fathers said, you know, I hope that my daughter isn't kidnapped. I hope that she isn't with Hamas. I almost wish for her to be dead because of the horrors that she might face. Thankfully, that young girl did live and she was back with her father. But I want you to think about having that security ripped from you, having your life ripped from you. That's the danger that we are all facing. Each and every one of us has a role to play in this. We have to fight. We have to demand that our lawmakers do whatever it takes. Support our Israeli allies, but to do whatever it takes to protect us, to protect our nation from this vile threat. It's going to be hard on all of us. Many of you, you don't want to be involved anymore. You're done with it. You're like, this is it. I don't want to be involved in any more wars. I don't think the Israeli government, and I know the Israeli government is not looking for boots on the ground. They are not looking for military personnel to come on the ground. But what they are looking for is assistance from the United States government as an ally with certain things. And we have got to think this through. Do we want to keep the enemy at bay and let our allies continue the fight against our enemy? Or are we going to wait until it's too late? Until Iranian proxies launch massive multiple attacks in the United States? Because I believe that is where we are heading. And if they do launch those attacks, what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to the future of this country? What's going to happen to our children? And what about the children and the people that die? Don't they deserve justice? Don't we deserve justice? Don't we deserve to stop this in its tracks before it's too late? We have so much to be thankful for. But I feel as though we have lost our way. I want to leave you with this one thought. Just one. We are being called right now by God, by our allies, by whatever you want to believe. But we are being called right now to do the right thing, to stand up for principles, those principles that have given us so much. We should never turn our back on Israel. We should never turn our back on the birthplace of the Judeo-Christian values. We should always stand up for truth. You and I have so much work to do. We live in really scary times. But I truly believe that if we do the right thing, that if we stand our ground and we stand by our allies, we're going to win this battle. We absolutely will win this battle. I said this to Ron Dermer, and I said it, I think, at the end to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But there are more of us than there are of them. There are more of us than there are of them. We just have to have the courage to stand up to them, to say no more, and to follow our path to save both nations. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. Remember, we are a target like Israel. Make sure you are subscribed to the Sara Carter Show on your favorite podcast app. It helps us keep the show free. It really gives us a boost in our algorithm. If you are watching on Rumble or YouTube, give us a like and a follow as well. It really, really is a great platform. And thank you so much for being a part of it there. Also, follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. Please pray for both our nations. If there's anything I learned in Israel, it's that prayer means something. And I'm so grateful to God for that. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless the state of Israel. And God bless the great state of Texas.